What's up everybody and welcome to another tutorial. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about face orientation and how to correct that. So here's what I mean. Anytime you create an object in Blender, it has an orientation. Another word for that is normal, right? So what is the normal? Well, let's just say that we were to let's say this was a plane right here. The normal would be which way is the outward facing and which way is the inward facing, right? Or which way is the orientation of that plane. So here's what I mean. Here's my scene right here. It's an auditorium. I want everything that is in the scene to be picked up by the camera. So in other words, I want everything to be facing towards the camera, which in this case would be kind of inside, right? So how do I know which orientation my object is taking? So one way to do that is you go up here to this viewport overlays and you can click on face orientation. And as long as you're in the correct view here, you can kind of see there's some blue and some red. Well, what does this blue and red indicate? Well, the blue indicates that the particular perspective that you're looking at it is this is the normal perspective. That is the orientation. So, for example, in this case, the orientation of this particular plane is this way. It's facing this way because that's where the blue is, and the red, that's the bottom part of it, right? That's the part that's not going to be seen by the camera whenever you go to make an animation or a game or anything like that. So if I'm looking at these curtains, however, they look red. That's not really what I want, because that's telling me that this is the orientation of this thing is going this way. This is the line of sight, it's going this way. So, and thus, if I were to scroll in here, I can see that this is facing this way. So how do I fix that? Well, going up there and doing that is how you see it, but how do you fix it? Well, in object mode, you want to select whatever items you want to do. Now, if you have since I have a whole lot of different items, I'm going to have to select them individually. But for our sakes, I'm going to select this one just by left clicking, and I'm going to hold shift and select the other big curtain. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into edit mode, which I can do that also by just pressing the tab button. So in edit mode, I've got my two objects that I selected while I was in object mode. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the face here, right? Because that's what I want to select, and I'm going to press A. What that's going to do is it's going to select all the faces. And what I want to do is I want to change the normals. That is to say, I want to change the way the curtain is oriented. So I can do that if I go up here to Mesh and Normals, and I could recalculate to where I want this to be the outside. And that sounds a little funny because this is like the inside of the auditorium, if you will, and yet I'm saying I want it to be the outside. How does that make sense? Well, don't think about it in terms of being inside or outside of an object. More think about it in terms of whichever way you want the orientation, that would be the outside, right? So I want this part to be the orientation, so I'm going to change this to being the outside. And now if I look back over here, this of course is red. Now, interestingly, there we go. It shows everything should be red there, and everything's red over here. Now, of course, the bar at the top needs to be fixed. This is the bar at the top needs to be fixed, but that's not what I selected when I originally did it. I just selected the curtains. So now you can see that, and even though it doesn't really look any different, whenever you go to render out your 3D model, or if you're going to do any Boolean effects or anything like that, you're going to want to make sure that everything that you want to be in the scene is going to be in there, or else it won't show up. And how do you know that? Or how can you see that before you go through all that process of rendering and everything? So this is the regular scene. Another option is to head on over here to, if you go back to this situation right here, if you go back to solid mode view and you click here, you can actually click this button called Backface Culling. And what this actually does, you'll notice I click it again. What this actually does is it shows you what's going to be visible based on those normals or the orientation that we just talked about. So if I do this, it's basically removing everything where the back face is showing, right? That's the idea of the back face culling. So now that I've clicked that, I can kind of go around my scene. This is actually a more accurate representation of what you should expect whenever you go to do it. This is why it's so important to make sure that your normals are being turned and oriented in the correct way. So it looks like I've got some more work to do. So anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And if there's any videos that you want me to make, please let me know. Thanks so much.